Hey YouTube, it's GreatFailsMontana. I'm here to talk to you guys about what I think about the game. I'm here to kind of recruit you over to my channel, but most of you probably won't come if you watch, and when you do come, I hope you enjoy the content, because it's pretty much the same thing as I'm about to do. A lot of times I actually get kind of angry, which I'm not right now, because I'm pretty calm, but sometimes I get kind of angry when I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there's a lot of problems with the game when it comes to especially right now, the way the integrity of the game's been since I started playing when I was a kid, I guess. I did stop playing for a while, but that's irrelevant. Anyways, there's a lot of fun that I like to have, and mainly it comes from analysis. And I like looking at things from a very academic way, because, I don't know, it's just very interesting to see things in different perspectives than just this. I think of Yu-Gi-Oh! As almost like a subject field, like science or math or something, only because it has its own sociology, it has its own math, it has its own sciences, probabilities and other things. And that's what makes me mad when I lose to like someone drawing Monster Born BLS, because both of those mechanics really don't require too much skill as much as I use them as well. It's just a pain in the ass to deal with, really. So first off, I'd like to talk about basically where the game's going with what I've seen so far. And what's really interesting is I'll throw something at you guys to try to understand kind of a paradox I've been trying to figure out. So first of all, I'll talk about the paradox. Very, very far back in the beginning of the game, we had this thing called an attack barrier. It's pretty common terminology, actually. And basically that describes basically what you had to try to get over in order to accomplish a goal through one summon or something. For instance, you had Mechanical Chaser. It was probably the biggest monster up until Gen Items, I think, and that was the attack barrier, 1850 for a long time. And the Sandtrap, if you guys are subscribed to him, he talked about this a long time ago, and where we're at now is a little bit above that. I think we're actually, the level and speed the game's gone, I think we're actually up to like 2500 for an attack barrier. And as scary as that sounds, it's pretty much true, because if you look at the game right now, there's a couple of different mechanics that we really can't deal with, and one of them is Lagia. Lagia is a pain in the ass, and with Lagia protection is usually what you see it with, and that's just way too much. And another one's Dragonfly, and we have answers for both Lagia and Dragonfly, but if they go off and they get what they need to do, then you usually minus big time, and they usually plus. And then the another one is dealing with Light Pulsar, and all of those mechanics end up dealing with some kind of 2500 beater or higher, 2400 beater or higher. It's right around there. So if we want to talk about attack barriers, it's relatively weird, because it's a weird topic. It's not really relevant anymore. So then from there, the game kind of shifted into a new mindset of pluses and minuses, and that's where we've been at for I would say since Chaos, pretty much. Pluses and minuses have been important since Chaos. Chaos is a little different because they had mechanics like Yada, Garasu, and BLS, and Chaos Emperor Dragon that would just end games on their own. But you can also consider other mechanics as well as viable. When you look at just the way they would have to use DUELING Duo, you wouldn't always use it, because if they had Sinister Serpent, then you might give them a plus or a 1-for-1, and then you pay 1,000 life points basically for nothing, because you want to make your cards good. So you wait until they have something, and hopefully they don't have the DUELING Duo or the Heavy Storm or the Heartbeat Feather Duster or the Brigeki or whatever, because that always sucked when you had to deal with those things. So when we dealt with pluses and minuses, it's always been that way for a long time, and it's been very important with pluses and minuses up until, I would say, this format, the end of last format. Because as important as pluses and minuses are, there are so many different options that you can just top deck into that can just end the game. And that's where I'm not too sure what to think of. It's a paradoxical question. Where do we go and how do we get out of this mess that we're in? Basically determining a game based on luck. I don't even know what to say about it, because ultimately there's nothing we can do as players besides try to stop subscribing to these ideas. But as an ideology, we're going to automatically subscribe to the best ideas because those are the best ideas. And the issue with Americans, at least, is we're really big bandwagon people, especially in America. And so the more and more an idea catches on, for instance, i.e. Soul Taker, I was gone. I was taking a break. I was in China while this card gained popularity. But I already knew the card was decent. It's not as good as people make it out to be. And it's definitely not worth 30, 40, 50 bucks. And I'm not going to pay that much money anytime soon. So if it does keep going up, then we have an issue. Because the mechanic's really not worth what the money it's asking for already. I can't imagine where it would go. It's probably going to stabilize, and it's not that great. Like I said, it's not that great of a card. Now, what's interesting is to see people hop on to things like that. They do that all the time in America. You guys remember Coney. Coney's a good example. I told everyone I knew who Coney was, and it's pretty obvious. You pay attention to facts, and then you try to advocate for them, and then people just hop on the bandwagon once one video is created by a semi-legitimate company, and then you have a number of different people arguing with you about, it doesn't matter who knew first because this idea needs support now. Well, look at all the other ideas in the world. You're wasting your time now, which you're going to forget about in 2 weeks. So think about Soul Taker like that. How many people hooked on to Soul Taker right away? The only thing it really is good against, in my opinion, is like Pulsar. Sure, it's good against Shining. How many Shinings are you going to see in a 300-man tournament? How many Shinings are you going to see in a 2,000-man tournament? I don't think you'll see very many. And in my opinion, it's not important enough to main deck. And that's just my opinion, because you can work around Shining easily. You make it miss its timing, MST on your Torrential Tribute. There's a plenty of different things that make it invalid. But what's really interesting, what really makes this game what it is now, is the fact that I'm trying to help you understand this. So now the issue is there's good players still topping. So how are they topping? They're topping with skill and handling luck. They're handling it by, I'm not sure how the good players are handling it. I would really like to know how Joe keeps topping, because honestly to me, it seems like there are way too many mechanics that are unfair to good players. And if he keeps topping as a good player, obviously he's a good player, then he's obviously tapping into something that most players can't tap into. And that's interesting to see. So if we look at a number of different nationals, that's where it gets a little complex, because overall, Dino Rabbit's been winning most of the time. Now, next to that, it's obviously Chaos Dragons, and after that, it's a bunch of different rogue decks. Final Countdown, Machina Gadgets, Six Sams, I don't even want to get into it. And mainly, it's really quite uncontrollable when you look at it, because there are so many different ideas out there that are portrayed through just the ability to do something in this format. Any deck can go into an event and win because of if it gets lucky, and that's just because that's the way it is right now with the game. It's not because that deck's the best deck. Don't start going off on a bandwagon saying Six Sams and Final Countdown are broken, can't be beaten, because they can, and it's pretty easy to beat those decks. You just have to know how to beat them. Now the issue comes when you can't do anything against them, because they get like a Shien, Barkion, Landois, Beast, and have 3 spells in hand. You can't do shit, and they have like a Bottomless and a Psalm Warning in the back row. What the fuck are you gonna do? They drew Gateway, you didn't, or they drew Gateway and you didn't draw the nuts. You can't do shit. You lose. Ultimately, there's really nothing you could do anyways. I mean, that feels pretty impenetrable. But let's say you did have the hand that could beat it. You had a Gores, you had a Veiler, some other mechanics maybe that could kind of handle it, but even then, every deck has a setup that's bustable, even 6-AMs, especially 6-AMs actually. And that's just because that's the way the game's been folding out. We used to only have to deal with 6-AMs and plants and maybe some other rogue deck, but now we have relatively 15 decks that can win, and you might have to play against. That's a lot of decks, and I'm talking about every deck you can fathom, because every deck has that function, has that ability, has that reason. What do we do as players to handle that kind of thing in, let's say, Nationals this year? In a couple weeks, we'll see how the game unfolds in the U.S. My prediction is it's going to be just as derpy as it is now with other events. I'm going to guess that Dino Rabbit wins it because there's probably going to be the most players out of all the Nationals in the U.S. I mean, at this North American World Championship qualifier. And that's because we have Canada and we have the United States, and we might have like some, you know, people that only have won at regionals or other things, and so it always ends up being a really large event. And we'll see how it ends up folding out in the United States. But primarily, I'm pretty interested in seeing how the game gets out of this rut of luck. And I want you guys' input down below, and please subscribe and check out my content. Right now, I've been building on some junk doppel decks, or different ideas with that. I'm building on a lot of different concepts. Right now, just junk doppel mainly, because it's pretty fun. I played it actually last year when there was like 2 Librarian, 3 Formula, 2 Trishula. It was a blast. But now it's a little bit lackluster in comparison, but it's still pretty fun. So please check me out, guys. Thanks for watching, and see ya.